had a lot of experience on camera. Sometimes you don't pull off the performance you want, and you consider that as a failure. I mean, how have you guys dealt with failure and trying to be better from those experiences?
I would just say if you do a take that you don't like as much, just don't judge yourself too hard. Because everyone's gonna, I guess, struggle a little bit, but you're students still at the end of the day, even though we're working towards being professionals. This is, like I said, the practice field these next 20 months, so I wouldn't worry too much, but the beautiful thing is they give you so many reps that you have a lot to choose from when it comes to real time. So yeah, I would just say I wouldn't stress it too hard, and take the feedback from your teachers. If they do say improve on something, actually take that to heart and don't make that same mistake the second time, because we're trying to make progress, right, each time. So really take what your teachers say, actually apply their feedback, and like I said, don't judge yourself too hard for any mistakes you make during the program.
Yeah, and watch their 40-minute feedback videos. Even if they feel like forever, they're important. And you're not always going to get that in your life. And in fact, you're never going to get that.
You're never going to get that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Like that's the most important thing that you can do. And I'm especially tough on myself. Like I come from a family where I had people in my life that have done this, and I had such a high expectation, I always have, that I should be perfect, because not that I was born with a silver spoon, but I've been around it my entire life. So my bar is set here. And when I don't hit that, I get really down. And I've had to learn to manage that, because as soon as you do it, it's done and it's cemented in history. You can't go back to that take. Yeah, you might get a second chance, but you can't go back to that first chance. So the next take has to have everything that you have in it and just go forward, push forward. You're a quarterback that just threw an interception. You still have to get back in the game and try to win it. This game is just life or your career, and it's going to keep going.
I probably had the biggest failure that's now an on-running joke in our thing. I couldn't get saying 4 full sail live on Clay Schrager, right? For the first, 3 weeks we started doing it, 4 weeks.
1920. You said 4 Clay Schrager last week.
I said 4 Clay Schrager last week, and so as you can see, we all laugh about it. But
you're the only one keeping the joke alive.
But it lets me know, like, no matter what stage that you're in this program, you're gonna keep learning. And with failures, like, you just gotta let it go. You just can't think about it. If you run over it, if something goes wrong with the camera, and something goes wrong in the control room. Let's say they play the wrong video. I was looking at videos to get my reel together the other day, and they ran the wrong video at first. And I said, oh, that's not the Yankee Stadium, but it's a baseball field. You just have to play off of it. That's what you have to do. And then they know, oh, okay, that's not what it is. They help switch it as well. And so with those kind of failures, like, you just got to let it go. You can't let things stay on top.
Failure has been following us since day one in this program, and even as like a group of students, we are in the very last week of our program here. We have 2 classes left, and we are still to the point where, I mean, you guys getting 100s on your projects or anything? No. So that means we are doing something wrong still every time that we're turning something in. That's failure, I guess, in the fact that we are still making mistakes when we are to this point left in the program, and that you can go different ways with that. It can be discouraging, and you can say that you don't want to be part of this anymore, you don't feel like that this is right for you, or you can wise up, listen to the feedback, make the changes that you have to do, and just get better at every single little day. I always looked at this program with, the old baseball like analogy of just hitting singles. Like you'll always have a job if you just keep hitting a single up the middle, and it's not sexy, and it's not, it doesn't always light up the highlight sheet itself, but it's just consistency, and it's a means of getting better every single time that you're up to bat. And none of us will get 100 at any point in the next 2 assignments. I know that for a fact with Rishi grading. There will be failure in the last week, but it's how do we adjust to that failure this week and get better the next week?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just reload. Like, just make sure I had just a personal story in Gordy's class for his final. I have personal issues going on in my own life, and one of the worst things, I would say the worst feeling so far that I've had on camera is blank. where you can't think of anything. And I'm someone that, I feel I'm good with my ad-libbing, but I could not, my mind was done. It turned off. And I'm standing there, and I walked off. I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And one of the best things that I did was, Gordy goes, no, you're going again. I took off my IBs, like, no, you're going again. You're going again. He just kept saying it, and I was like, you know, fine, just F it, we'll do this. So went back out there, and I think because that was my second take, so I think my first take was still better, but I still went out there and got my second take and did it. And so the idea of like, even if you have one of those moments where you can't think of something, or something goes wrong, whether it's technical or on your end, just being able to get back out there, reload, go again, you know, it's almost never over, you know what I'm saying? So dealing with failure is just a matter of a personal mindset, and just being able to get back out there and do it again, I think you'll feel a lot better afterwards.
True. What is the process of finding a job been like for you guys?
Oh, loads of fun, man, they just keep going.
It sucks. I can start. I mean, the best way to do it, which I think you guys all know, is through a connection if possible. Luckily, your teachers have a lot of connections. But I would say, when you guys are close to graduating, you have to show these guys that you actually are serious about your career, like you're putting in the work, because it's not just, hey, Gus, I haven't talked to you since I finished this program at all. Blah, 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 by the way, like, can you give me a job? Like, you gotta show them you've been putting in work for them to actually put their reputation on the line to recommend you to these places. I haven't had any luck doing the job website postings. Honestly, I'm like 0 for like 15 on those like job postings online, but I think it worked for you, right? Like,
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
a couple calls, but connections, whether through these teachers here or on your own that you make outside when you like sign up for a lot of these events, because you never know who you'll meet and who knows who. I think that's one thing they teach at Full Sail all the time is 3 things, like you don't know who knows who, who's worked for who, or eventually who will be your future employer one day. So I think those are all good ways to start. But start thinking about it like your demo reel and resume, like now, like honestly. Like I don't know how far each of you guys are out, but I think I was having meetings with Gus like almost like 7-8 months ago, just to start initial conversations and then like start building the resume. Demo reel like 6 months ago. Obviously, it's been updating like every other week. But, like to put that together is start earlier is the better.
So for me, my job search has gone well. I would say I don't have a job right now, but I have some good perspective, places that hopefully I will get one. I would say first and foremost, you have to build connections, and you have to not go searching for a job with these connections. You have to go searching for advice. You have to really want to build a relationship, and with news directors, if that's the path you want to go, a local sports job, or producers, directors, people that work in the industry, and just hammer on sending your reel and asking for advice, because people are more than willing to give you advice on your reel, but they're not more than willing to just hand you a job to somebody that they've never met before. So establishing relationships, I've been doing that since the moment that I got to this program. And it wasn't even necessarily with just a job in sight. It was, I figured if I had a big pool of people that I knew, somebody was gonna know somebody, and eventually it could help me lead to a job. And it has bridged some connections for me. The job sites, they're tough. Like, look, you're sending in an application and you don't know how many other people are. And what I would say to that is your stuff has got to be spotless. Not only does your demo reel have to be spotless, but your resume and your cover letters. I mean, Jamila's been amazing in offering to help out a lot of people here. I would go to every single person that you know that you trust for that, to just have them read it over. You don't necessarily have to take their feedback, but it is so vitally important when you're applying for those jobs online. Because I had one mistake in this Disney job that I was applying for, like literally a missed period somewhere. I got turned down for the job right away, and then I reapplied under a different email, changed the thing, didn't get turned down for the job. Had a job interview for the job. So it can literally come down to a period. It's that important. Like Tyler said, start thinking about it all right now. Even if you're not graduating for 18 months, always have it in the back of your head.
You guys mentioned like your demo reels a lot. I know you guys have probably been working on it for a while. But what are some kinds of things that you took from your time here, and how much what of it was just like extra stuff that you've done on the outside?
So what's our portion like split for the demo reels, like
Yeah.
stuff from here and stuff we do on our own?
I think a majority of mine at least is they do a fully produced show here. You get a fully done show here. Put that on your reel. It looks nice. You get people who are running nice cameras, who are running nice audio, who are running. Not every school gets that. Not every person gets that when they're anchoring a show or fake anchoring a show and putting it on a green screen. Like, you get a full set, you have a full studio at your hand. Put as much of that as you can on there because it makes it look more professional and that you've been there and done it.
I would say for the majority you could do through the school here. Like, if you want to be anchor, host, the studio's amazing. It's better than most local news station studios. So take advantage of that, doing different shots so it looks different. Going out in the field, you can do through Rollins and whatever events they have signed up here. The only thing and play-by-play, you could definitely get, if you want a play-by-play reel, you could get that done here. For me, since I want to do like a lot of interviews in the future, I didn't do many interviews here, so I have an interview-specific reel, which are just all stuff I set up on my own outside of here. But as far as anchoring, hosting, and like out-of-the-field stuff, and even play-by-play, like I have specific reels that are all because of this program. So.
For me, I work on the show outside of here, which I've been fortunate enough to have some on-air hosting, anchoring. So I have some of that on my reel, but I would say a majority is stuff from the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, because I thought about it, as Tyler mentioned before, like I thought about it 8 months out of, okay, I'm going to approach these final months as every assignment needs to have something or multiple things for my reel, and then I'm also going to shoot stuff outside, like stand-ups as well. So, really putting the time, the effort, the energy into thinking about how your set's going to look visually. Are you going to put something in the niner, or are you just going to use the standard Dan Patrick graphic? What's going to look more visually appealing? If you have 9 anchoring things that are all the same camera angle with just that logo, but one you're talking about Antonio Brown, one you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, a news director or whoever is going to look at that and be like, did he do this all in the same day? So changing things up, really thinking, putting your producer hat on, as Gus likes to say, thinking about that, approaching each assignment like, hey, not only is this going to get me a grade, but part of this can go in my demo reel, which can get me a job.
I just want to add something real quick. Like, if you feel there's something lacking in your demo reel too, just go out on your own and shoot it. Like Taylor did it with like a news thing with the Trump rally.
Yeah.
And I've done it before for like random like sports stuff. I just go out to the Amway Center, pretend I'm doing magic stand-ups. Like, I don't know, just do that in my own time. So definitely, if you don't have the time through the school to do it, just do it on your own.
Reels are funny because you're obviously building towards creating all this material from the point that you start the sportscasting classes, but we get to the point and it's almost maybe 3 out of the last 4 months that you have here are the most like studio intensive classes that you have. So it's good to have, I think, a framework of whether it's material or clips or just things in your mind that as you're going along in the earlier months that okay, this is reel worthy, I'm gonna have this saved aside so when I start building things out. But probably a good 90% of your reel, maybe around that number, might come from your last 6 months here. So, but that doesn't stop you from just having things in mind of what is the standard of what I feel is good enough to put on my reel. Because trust me, the things that you have right now will not be what you want to have when you're probably in this position here after you go through some of the later months, have some of the longer shows, have the ability to have more freedom with the segments that you do, working with co-anchors, doing outside reports. Now that the TVU stuff, now that this stuff is on campus, it's going to be, that's a game-changing thing that we only very, very, very touched upon the absolute bare minimum of it. And this gives you the ability to go out and have, with studio broadcast, the ability to go around campus and shoot on like live features outside of the building to aid with what it is. If Taylor's hosting a show, I could be doing something over by Full Sail Live, and just have that ability to do live reports. Those are huge and looks so much better doing it in the atmosphere that we're doing it here versus when we're shooting it ourselves. We want to get to the point where we're able to shoot real material stuff with our own cameras, but that's not always going to be the case because the studio is the studio. So it'll get to the point, it is a patience thing where you will get to the point where you'll have such more opportunity to put real worthy stuff in your resume and on your tapes just later in the program. But keep having an idea of what it is that you're looking for.
You good?
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much covered it.
Next question?
I have one for Dean. Dean, you're our eSports guy, and I know a lot of these guys are looking at other sports as they move on. What do you want to do with the degree in eSports, and how's the future looking?
I'll take this one, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so obviously you guys have probably heard it a bunch, especially with the Armada. Future of esports, like it's great, it's blowing up and all that stuff. And it's true, it really is. It was set to be like $1 billion industry by 2020, and they already got it this year. So it's something where it's very niche right now, especially in the United States. But as far as like job search goes, I'm actually in a unique case. You know, I don't know if any of you came to when Dan Patrick's agent came and Reed came and talked to us about the value of getting an agent, what an agent actually does, and when should you get an agent and all that stuff. I'm actually in contract negotiations right now with an agent who strictly does esports stuff, and that's only because he has the majority of the contacts that I would need to break into the industry. As much as I love the guys here, love the teachers here and all that stuff, they are very sports centric, and so for me it was a little bit more difficult, especially to break into an industry that is so niche. But Gus just coughed because I think he wanted me to talk about the fact that he set me up with this guy. So nice little
Finally taking cues from a producer. Well
yeah.
done.
My AFB was broken. It cut out at a second. Yeah, I couldn't hear you say rap. But yeah, I think as far as esports goes, it's something you have to be passionate about, similar to how you guys are passionate about sports. And it might be something where you get an avenue to go into it that way, and then you become passionate about it. They talk about that all the time, how you might have to cover NASCAR before you get to cover the NFL. But it's something that I feel is this program there's nothing that I could take away from it that says it hasn't applied, that these things don't apply to esports. So if anybody is interested in esports, whether it's a secondary interest or is your primary interest, all of these skills that they teach you here are transferable. They put on productions in the same exact way as far as live productions go. And for me personally, I'm going for a shoutcasting or a studio gig. So I would like to be a studio host. I like the stuff that we do in the studio that's all kind of pre-produced. But I also like the live play-by-play shoutcasting, which is what they call the play-by-play broadcasting of the actual matches. So.
Adrian, you took part in the WWE internship, not necessarily because you want to give Bernsey the rock bottom, although we all do. But just talk about the value. Oh, I just said talk about. Sorry, Mike Tuck. What was the value of putting yourself in a situation where you knew you were going to be uncomfortable?
So similar to what Dean just talked about with how not many people know what it is that, esports, it almost was the same way where I just wanted to immerse myself in some sort of an uncomfortable situation with a sport that I didn't really know much about, and I didn't really know how it was presented and put on at the same time. For me, the benefits of that internship came. There was a point in time where, and I can't remember off the top of my head what class it was or what we were in, but we were doing some stuff in the studio, and it might have been the vocal training stuff, and not to pour negative things on that, but there's a point where you do get kind of stripped down with the skills that you have, and your ability to what you feel like is comfortable in the way that you speak and present isn't always there when you're in the middle of some of those exercises. And that's not a bad thing, because they want to strip down those bad habits that you have and build you up from more of a foundational standpoint with your voice. And I was in one of those periods like that where I don't know, I was talking like a robot. It didn't look like I was having any fun. My face was just stone, and it didn't feel very natural or fun with what I was doing in the studio. But then going to sessions with the WWE, and that is essentially a form of acting classes, really, where you are expected to speak in an energetic tone that is unparalleled to anything that we're doing in the studio here. So I had it from the extreme of the vocal training stuff where you're down to the basics of what it is, versus the WWE stuff, which expects you to be a 12 at all times. And it did a really good job of being able to balance out what I thought was my presenting personality, my voice, what I expected it to be in the way that I could captivate an audience like a WWE audience. And I think it there was a lot of times where it was push and pull on the skill set of what it is we were focusing on there versus what it is they ask you to focus on here. But there was a lot of benefits that I got out of it, and I was happy that I took the chance on the experience.
Yes, Mr. Burns?
Just for the record, Mike asked a Del Burrow's question. Don't worry, Mike took, I was paying attention. But, so you mentioned, Adrian, that you have to get kind of out of your comfort zone at the WWE. For the rest of you, what point in this program, if any, what time did you ever feel like you were getting outside your comfort zone?
So for me, I work on a morning show that tapes out here, called The Daily Flash, and one, getting out of your comfort zone is waking up at 3:30 in the morning to do that when you have class those days. But I also, after a little bit of working there, pitched an idea to do a segment on the show called Word on the Tweet that I got to host, and I had to be 100% myself on there. I had to let my personality loose, and I was trying to be funny in my own way and just be myself on TV. And the hardest thing that and everybody's mentioned it here, from in the vocal classes when there's a literal "be myself" written down coming straight from Arthur Joseph, to Rishi and Mike Stin's broadcast writing, where you learn how to write in your own voice. Being yourself on camera is the hardest thing that you will ever have to learn. And I finally broke out of my shell working in the mornings doing that. I was in a weird and professional environment. I was doing something that I'd never done, and I stopped trying to be this sportscaster, newscaster, in the mold person that Gus had forever told me that stop trying to be like your dad. And I was finally being myself on TV, and it was so freeing. But I was in this position for a couple of weeks where I was like, can I do this on camera? Can I show this vulnerability of myself? And once I just accepted it, I'm like, well, this is just who I am. And if I can't be who I am on TV, what's the point of faking it? And once I broke that mold, I've just felt forever so much better on camera.
It shouldn't be when did you feel uncomfortable. It should be, are you feeling uncomfortable? You want to go outside your comfort zone every day. Hearing Taylor do hockey in Gordy's class was probably one of the funniest things. He said bottom of the second period. We all got, Tyler's done eSports. We've all done stuff that we're not comfortable with, but it's made us better at the end of the day doing everything, every show. Going out and shooting your own stuff and trying to figure out on the fly if, okay, this is the angle I'm gonna go through, and then 10 minutes left, the entire angle of the story is going to completely change, and you have to realize that, or else you're not going to get the right stuff. And to be able to do that every time that you go and do something is being uncomfortable.
For me, actually, it was the beginning of trying new sports, because honestly, I don't really know, besides baseball, I don't really know other sports that well, to be honest. So honestly, knowing that I would have to try other sports was kind of nerve-wracking to me, honestly. And doing the Rollins volleyball with Taylor, we did, I think, 10 games last year. Yeah. That experience was a really big moment to try and talk about a sport I've never even thought about learning in my life, and then actually broadcast it to people and pretend like I actually know what I'm talking about. But that's something I feel really confident now that I can take whatever sport it is. I understand storytelling better now, so it doesn't matter if I'm talking football, soccer, baseball, basketball. I know how to form stories well, so it doesn't matter what. I'm just kind of plugging and playing, the subject, and I feel confident in uncomfortable positions because you're going to be put in that a lot in this program. And yeah, I don't know, uncomfortable being uncomfortable, if that's a real thing, but I kind of feel better in that way. And I've done a lot of esports segments, like Clay mentioned. I've done a lot with Dean, mainly because Dean asked me to help him a lot now lately. So I would have never thought to even try esports in the beginning of the program. So I don't know. That was a big thing for me, trying just different sports besides baseball.
You were like a pro doing volleyball off the top, man. I was saying the same phrase every time. I was like, and she kills it. Kill shot. Kill shot. Yeah. Tyler's the only one adding any depth to that conversation.
I think, I don't know if it's in Debbie's class, It's in that 101T room in building 2, which we had like 8 classes in this month, or this term.
Talk about feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's been completely remodeled. Anyway, someone had up on there, chase the butterflies, right? Like the butterflies you get in your stomach whenever you do. Oh, that was Christine. I'm so sorry, Christine.
That's okay.
I'll buy you a cookie later. But yeah, and that's basically what it comes down to. That's what this job should be. And that's what, I think honestly, that's just like good life advice, is like chase the butterflies, because, you know, that stuff excites you. And that's basically what I can say about that. Christine, I'm stealing your quote.
Dean, I seem to recall you getting somewhat uncomfortable in Jamila's class as well.
Yeah, Jamila, every class. And I completely revolutionized that class, because I did not in the same way after that. I just argued with her every single class. But that was,
Speaking about impact on class.
yeah, you guys are.
You guys talked about feedback. This business that almost all of us teachers are in are don't really pull punches on feedback. Is that something you guys had to get used to? Did you find it a little bit harsh sometimes?
I mean, for me, like, I grew up playing sports, football mentality kind of thing, so I like being yelled. Like, if I'm not being yelled at, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. When my coaches were silent, I was like, I thought that was a good pass. I don't know why he's not saying anything. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, I never really cared about, you know, feedback, as far as, not that I didn't care about it, although it may seem that way, but I'm digging myself in a hole here. I never mind the actual, like, the harsh feedback. That's how my dad's always been my entire childhood. That's how coaches have been with me my entire life. So for me, at least, it wasn't a big thing to get used to.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just something that happens, and just take advantage of it while it's here. I think somebody said it earlier. You're not going to get it when you're in the real world. They're not going to come up to you after every take and say, oh, do this better, do that better, do this better. You were good here, you were bad here. You're not going to get that every time. They're just going to be like, okay, and just write down little mental notes, knowing what goes on, and then it could be your job one day. And so take advantage while you have it.
Schetzel's 180, though, on how he gave us feedback from the first time we had him to the second time. Oh my goodness.
Maybe that's more that you're gone 180.
Touche.
I like it a lot. Like, I love the feedback videos. I think it's like the best thing ever. Like 40 minutes, like make an hour. Like, I don't care. Like, kind of what Dean mentioned with sport. Like, I played sports in high school too, and I used to be that kid that watched like game film like nonstop, and like I loved it when coaches like broke down game film. Like, to me, when they break down the studio stuff, like our feedback, like that's like the game film. Like, I like really look forward to that. So I don't know. I like it a lot. Like, I love the feedback, and hopefully you can learn, like I said in the beginning, take what they tell you and don't do the same mistake the next time. I mean, you're gonna make probably a different mistake the other time, but don't make the same mistake twice, and show that you're coachable in that sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, TV is about being coachable, like Dean
Yeah.
said. It really isn't. You know, somebody like Gus is brutally honest, and I love it. And I didn't always love it, and especially not in the beginning. But he's gonna tell you the truth, and he's gonna treat you like he would treat a Sports Center anchor. And it took me a really long time to figure that out. That he doesn't treat any of us any differently than he treats Kevin Nagandi. That like his expectation level for you, he knows you're never gonna reach it here, but his expectation level is for you to be there one day. So he's gonna try to get you there. And same with all of these teachers. They all want you, they're all giving you feedback for your peak because they want you to be at this level. So they're trying to get you there with that feedback. It's not negative. You know, we had this whole thing when Dan was here, feedback against
Criticism.
versus criticism. This is straight feedback.
Really
And the fact that Rishi and Gus and all these other teachers take 40 minutes out of their day to sit there with a webcam and go through every finite detail. Think about the better things that they could be doing, but they care that much. Like when I see 40 minutes, I'm like, Rishi spent 40 minutes to do that. If I can't spend 40 minutes of my life watching, then what's the point of me being here?
Yeah, basically what they said. Feedback sucks. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We were good at everything.
Taylor did an interview for Mike Tuck's class, and I happened to be in the classroom that day and gave him some feedback that day in the class. And it wasn't until later that I realized how badly I crushed Taylor that day, because he
I thought we were
thought,
playing good cop, bad cop, but
Bad cop, worst cop.
and for a couple days I thought about it, I thought, I should really reach out to Taylor and let him know that my intent was not to tear him down, but to just let him know why I thought what I thought, although I did a good job explaining it in class. And then time passed and I just never did. And I don't know how long you dwelled on it. I certainly moved on.
Because he's got emotional stuff that will never do.
And I just thought about it again in this moment. And some of you have heard me say this before, and I think I speak for my entire staff. We like all of you, and we want nothing more than to see all of you succeed. And I would love to hang out with all of you and be buds and whatever, but that's not what's going to make you guys better. And so at the end of the day, it'd be great if all of you said, oh great, Gus is here. But I know there's lots of times I walk in the classroom and you go, oh shit, Gus is here. And I know, because I was in a classroom last week where everybody behaved very nicely while I was in the class. And then I came back and I said to one of the instructors, boy, that class was great. I've never seen them like that before. And the guy said, they only put it on because you were in the room. And then it was confirmed to me later that that was the case. And that's fine. But at the end, if you guys look at me and the rest of us as the grumpy old people who busted your chops to try to get you where you want to go, but you got there, then that's the win for me, that's the win for all of us. So when I sit here and I look up at those 5 guys and think about their graduation on the 4th and what they're going to go do, whether it takes them 6 days or 6 months to start doing that, I know that it was worth it. I know that we did our jobs. And Dan's going to be here to give the commencement address, and he's going to make me stand next to him on the stage because he's going to get emotional. He's not going to be able to get through his speech, and so I'm going to have to step in and save him. But because that's how invested we are in this process and in all of you. I can't thank you guys enough for your wisdom, for your commitment to this program. As Dan said, the mere fact that you guys said, I want to be first. These 5 guys are great examples of making the most of the opportunities that you have. And all of them right now are worried about what their job's going to be. All of them, someone on my staff has gone to bat for already to try to get them lined up with an interview somewhere, and we want to do that for all of you. We do. So, any parting shots from you 5 before we give away some money?
The only thing that I'll say is, like, take great pride in what you're doing here. Like Gus mentioned, showing up to all the events and everything. Yeah, but just, I mean, be an ambassador of this program. Like, that's what I've tried to do. I care about this so much. We had this meeting with some of the people that are on the advisory board a couple months ago, and I started by saying I'm the biggest cheerleader of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. You are a part of something special, and that you might not realize it on your day-to-day when you're sitting in class, when you have assignments due, when you have a job, and you have all these other things in your life to think about, but this is freaking special. You might not ever in your entire lives get to be a part of launching something this big, this cool, that can change this many lives. The 40th anniversary of ESPN was, I don't know, a week ago, and Dan and Keith were on. I was thinking about it. 40 years ago, ESPN launched it, and it changed the way sports television is. Well, 40 years forward, we're sitting here today, and we're changing the way that sportscasters will be trained. That the future of ESPN, the future of all of these networks, is being taught right here, 40 years later. That's incredible. We went from there to here, and the people that helped build that network, the people that helped build all of the corresponding networks are sitting back there, and you have an opportunity to learn from them. So take great pride in what you're doing here.
Don't ever say you don't have enough time, honestly, because 3 of us have jobs. 2 of us drive more than an hour a day to school, and we still signed up. I did 50 games. So
I did 51.
You did 51. But you can make the time to do it. There's days where it's gonna suck. Not gonna lie. I'm looking forward to Thursday, where it will be my last 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. day of school and work, where I'm getting up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm sure.
You mean 5
Yeah, but then I work 9, and then.
You mean 1 a.m., Clay?
Yeah, 1 a.m. So, you know what I'm saying. But overall, like, you just have to make it. You just have to do it for yourself. If you get 2 hours of sleep that night, you get 2 hours of sleep. Be thankful for that. It's 2 hours of sleep, and you go out there and get it done. You take an energy drink, you take whatever you need to take to get through the day, and go.
I would just say, remember to have fun with it. Like, you're talking sports still at the end of the day. Like, you really think about it, your examples for the school is Christian Yelich, MVP, or got injured, or Daniel Jones, yesterday. Like, you're not talking biology or chemistry or American history. Like, you're talking sports. Like, when it feels stress, like, you're talking about something not too serious. Like, it's fun. So just always try to remember that.
The one thing I'll take away more than anything from all of this is the feedback versus criticism lines, and that's just in its day-to-day life that's a life lesson. If people point out something that they see as a potential improvement that you can make in your job or anything like that, it's not an indication of what they feel as you as a person. And the one memory that I'll take away, amongst other things, but like, we were in Rishi's broadcast writing class, and this is when Jay Harris first started to kind of check in with our class. He would FaceTime us on the computer, and there was a couple assignments where we would do it as if we were in the classroom, but looking ahead at the projector, and Jay was off to the side, and I did my thing, and I thought, of course, like, I thought I did fine with it, and I was the last one to go after all this, and he was heaping praise on top of everybody. Oh, great job, and the first thing he said, it was like, pause. Yeah, that didn't do it for me, dog. And it was like Randy Jackson, like American Idol, and I was just like a puddle, like, oh my gosh, Jay Harris just said to me. And just knowing Jay Harris doesn't care who I am from Jack, and it's just, he was just somebody who was just trying to pass along, some notes of encouragement for somebody who was trying to get better at something he knew very well of, and it was just something I'll always think about, that Jay Harris hates me, and I'm never going to be good enough.
They hit a lot of good points. For me, at least, it would be practice. I said it when we started. My biggest takeaway was the consistency in the practice. I know for sure that I did not practice enough while I was here, and I can't imagine where I would be if I had. So, coming from someone who regrets not doing all that stuff, don't be in my shoes when you're here 10 months from now, 5 months from now, even 2 months from now. Like, absorb as much as you can and do all the stuff that you can on your own time as well. Not to say that I'm horrible, but I could be. Yeah. It's complete garbage.
And read instruction.
And read the instructions.